Hi there, this is Solitary Ronin from Solitary Ronin Films, and welcome to another my favourite 40 ranked. Today I'm going to go through my favourite 40 films available in the premium collection and sort of ranked. Again, this is not a ranking of the best, this is my favourite. I mean, obviously these can change, it's just a bit of fun to pick 40 titles and let them speak for themselves, so to speak. So Premium Collection is essentially the UK version of Warner Archive. Most of these are Warner Archive titles, but Premium Collection is now no more, as Warner Archive are actually selling more titles and making more titles available in the UK. So HMV online will still have premium collections and in stores possibly, but they won't be making any new releases. So I'll just go through them starting at 40. Again, not a lot of detail, but you can always let me know in the comments which are your favourites, which ones you have. Very much like Warner Archive, as far as special features, some of them have quite a few, some of them have zero. And some of them have special features that aren't actually relevant to the film at all. But we'll start with spine number 141 from 1941, and this is The Seawolf with Edward G. Robinson, Ida Lupino and John Garfield. I mean, you can't make a film like this nowadays because they're all dead, but this is just a wonderful film. Edward G. Robinson in top form as a somewhat unhinged captain. This is directed by Michael Curtiz. There's a lot of Michael Curtiz in the HMV Premium and Warner Archive. This is fantastic. Again, this is a perfect example. This has the trailer and the radio version. So again, it's a bit random as far as extras, but this is lots of fun. Again, they don't make films like this anymore. Ida Lupino, you can't get enough of Ida Lupino, she's fantastic. Spine number 146 from 1973 is Don't Be Afraid of the Dark, which originally was a TV movie, but if you want a good case of the willies, then you should probably watch this one. It's only 74 minutes. Again, it was originally on television, so it was probably like an hour and a half minus commercials, about a young couple who move into a house and unblock a chimney with scary consequences. You'll be covered in willies after you watch this. It's an effective little willy maker. Spine number 145 from 1933, if you can remember that far back. It's Michael Curtiz again. It's Mysteries of the Wax Museum. Again, Michael Curtiz did a lot of different things, and this is kind of wonderful. And this has a documentary, Remembering Fay Wray, who happens to be in it. Audio commentary by Alan K. Rode, who obviously does a lot of good work. Audio commentary by Scott McQueen, head of the preservation at UCLA, and a restoration featurette. Again, it's only 78 minutes long, but it shows you, you don't have to be 3 hours long to make a wonderful little film. Stars the fantastic Lionel Atwill and obviously Fay Wray. But we'll be back to stuff about wax later. Next, which has just got a Criterion 4K, spine number 95 from 1975. Night Moves by Arthur Penn, with Gene Hackman, Melanie Griffith, a young James Woods, well, a young Melanie Griffith as well. Again, I'm not a huge Gene Hackman fan, but this is quite excellent. I won't be picking up the 4K though, but I did a random review of this a long time ago. Really impressed me, so I'd highly recommend Night Moves if you haven't already. Spy Number 53 from 1973. Again, this is controversial, but again, this is a favourites rather than the best. This is Terrence Malick's debut, Badlands, with Martin Sheen and Sissy Spacek. You may have heard of this film before, and this has some interviews with the cast and crew. Sorry, I should have said that Night Moves has a vintage featurette and a trailer. So again, just random extras. Badlands, of course, is a very good film, but it's never been one of my favourite films of all time. Spy Number 75 from 1938. This is Frank Capra's You Can't Take It With You, with James Stewart, Jean Arthur, Lionel Barrymore and Edward Arnold. Quite interestingly, Jean Arthur is above James Stewart. Bizarrely, I had never seen this. I mean, obviously there's lots of Capra films that are on the television, or were on the television constantly, not so much anymore. But this was one, when I bought this a few years ago, I'd never actually seen it. And yes, it's full of pure Capra schmaltz, but it's actually really good. It's really effective, and almost quite moving. Spy Number 16 from 1983, Tony Scott's debut, The Hunger, with Sarandon, David Bowie and Catherine Deneuve. Quite a beautiful little film. Lots of style, as you'd expect from one of the Scott brothers. Yeah, really underrated, classy. It's funny because you don't really equate Tony Scott with kind of classy and elegant, but The Hunger is quite classy and elegant. Spy Number 107 from 1983, The Man with Two Brains. Yes, remember when Steve Martin was funny. Yes, it's a trope, but it's true. Great support by Kathleen Turner. Some of the most ridiculous names in cinema history. Still holds up. And just to prove this is more favourites than the best, Spy Number 102, The Satanic Rites of Dracula from 1972. 1973, where Dracula becomes a Bond villain. It's quite a wonderful scheme though he comes up with, but he is essentially a Bond villain in this. But it is kind of wonderful. Tony the Wonderful. Peter Cushing's in it as well, and Joanna Lumley. Spy Number 49 from 1946. This is The Big Sleep. You know, there's some classics that when you watch them don't really kind of stand up, but The Big Sleep is classic in all manners of ways. Howard Hawks, written by Faulkner and Lee Brackett. It's just the quintessential noir. This is the 1945 alternate version, and a comparison and an interview with Robert Gitt. Unfortunate second name. Yeah, The Big Sleep's just absolutely wonderful. It's as cool as a polar bear sitting on some ice cubes, wearing a Jean-Marie Volonté t-shirt. Spy Number 101 from 1972 is Dracula AD 1972, and there's Christopher Lee. Again, is this the best Dracula film? Not really, but it's kind of wonderful as well. Stephanie Beacham's in this, directed by Alan Gibson. who's a name you don't hear very often. And this edition only has the trailer. Number 38 from 1974. This is the Yakuza, Sidney Pollack with Robert Mitchum and Takakura Ken. Now, obviously, the first time I saw this, I wasn't as much of a Takakura Ken fan as I am now. So Takakura Ken being in this film with Robert Mitchum's kind of two icons for the price of one. There's a commentary by Sidney Pollack and a vintage featurette. But this is actually quite a funny film, even though it's not supposed to be, because Robert Mitchum just messes everything up for these Japanese people. He's actually a kind of useless protagonist because he just messes up. He gets people killed, people tortured, people pregnant. He just is a disaster, but he's actually the hero because he's American, obviously. Spy number 44 from 1953. Told you we'd get back to some wax. It's Vincent Price in House of Wax 3D. Apologies if you're wearing 3D glasses. And again, this has a featurette. This has a commentary by David Duval, who's Vincent Price's biographer. It's a newsreel. There's a 1913. Sorry, there's a 1933 Mysteries of the Wax Museum as an extra and a trailer. Yes, you actually get two films for the price of one. You get the Michael Curtiz version as well, which I didn't actually realise. Yes. Spy number 34 from 1949. Iconic film, famous for an iconic ending, but is it actually that good? White Heat, with Jimmy Cagney, of course, and Hold the Mayo with Virginia Mayo. And the answer is yes. It's perhaps not the best Cagney. I think Roaring Twenties is absolutely fantastic. But this is a lot of fun as well. Directed by Raoul Walsh. Yeah, one of the first portrayals of psychopathy, probably. Spy number 5 from 1976. All the President's Men. With Dustin Hoffman and Robert Redford, of course, about Watergate. How do you make a film about Watergate? Interesting, riveting, but Alan J. Pakula somehow managed it. Commentary by Robert Redford, Telling the Truth About Lies, the making of, Woodward and Bernstein, Lighting the Fire, Out of the Shadows, The Man Who Was Deep Throat, Pressure on the Press, the making of All the President's Men, and a vintage Jason Robards interview, who of course is wonderful in the film. My second favourite of Pakula's Paranoid trilogy in the 70s. You all know what my favourite one is. 1971, Spy number 58. One of probably the two Robert Altman films that I do consider to be masterpieces. McCabe and Mrs. Miller. Again, Robert Altman I think is hugely overrated, but this is a stone cold classic. Julie Christie, who again, never been that big a fan of until about the last 5-10 years. I really appreciate her now. She's just fantastic in this. As is Warren Beatty, who I'm not a huge fan of either. Spy number 22 from 1997. Donnie Brasco with Al Pacino and Johnny Depp. Directed by the man who brought you 4 Weddings and a Funeral, Mike Newell. This is absolutely wonderful, and this is the director's cut, which is 147 minutes, which is better than the theatrical cut. So always make sure you're watching the director's cut of Donnie Brasco. Al Pacino in a little bit different role as a low-level loser scumbag gangster, as opposed to being a successful scumbag gangster. Spy number 40 from 1974. Again, a film I've never been amazingly high on, but it is growing on me. Chinatown. I might actually get it in 4K, that's how much it's grown on me. Jack Nicholson and Faye Dunaway, because again I used to love Jack Nicholson, and then I went through a period of having enough of Jack Nicholson, but I do really like his 70s stuff. Obviously he became a parody like quite a lot of American actors do, but this is wonderful. Just think, an American thriller that you're supposed to pay attention to. Controversial stuff. This has a commentary by Robert Towne and David Fincher, which is excellent. There's little videos, essays, Water and Power, The Aqueduct, The Aftermath, The River and Beyond. There's an appreciation, there's something called The Beginning and the End, the filming of it, the legacy. Yeah, John Huston is wonderful in this as well. You could argue it's his best thing he ever did, including his directing. Next, people of a certain age will get this, but again, objectively, this is not a best list. Clash of the Titans. In the UK, probably couldn't tell you how many times this was on the television, and as a child, I don't know how many times I've seen this. This is probably one of those films that I've seen way too many times, too much to count. It's just, yeah, the reboots, reimaginings with Sam Worthington are terrible. This is another Ray Harryhausen, of course, but there's such a charm to this. Is it a great film? Probably not, but it means something. There's a conversation with Ray Harryhausen and Myths and Monsters Gallery. Clash of the Titans. What can you say? And this was another one that was kind of in DVD limbo, and I was ecstatic when they announced this. Spine Number 98 from 1964, 7 Days in May. This is wonderful, one of Frankenheimer's best. Burt Lancaster, Kirk Douglas, Frederick March, and Ava Gardner. This is just wonderful. See Burt Lancaster and Kirk Douglas go at it. Oh, it's wonderful. And this has a Frankenheimer commentary. We're into the top 20 now, and at 20, the knockabout comedy, Spine Number 68 from 1984. It's 1984. You'll be rolling in the aisles. John Hurt and Richard Burton. You know, BFI released the Peter Cushing television one, which is very good, but this one is kind of special. Burton's fantastic, as is John Hurt, of course. Number 19, it's another Capra. It's Mr. Deeds Goes to Town. Obviously the Coens were inspired by quite a lot of this for the Hudsucker Proxy. Jean Arthur and Gary Cooper. Again, not a huge Gary Cooper fan, but in the last few years he has went up in my estimations. Yeah, and this is just wonderful. Again, outsider goes to the big town and gets cheated and conned, but a good heart wins through. I mean, obviously Capra was deluded. Commentary by Frank Capra Jr. Frank Capra Jr. remembers Mr. Deeds Goes to Town, vintage advertising gallery, and not a trailer, a theatrical teaser. Lionel Stander is in this. I don't know why that came off as being one. Oh my god, Lionel Stander's in this. 108 from 1981, a really underappreciated werewolf film. It's more a shape-shifting film, probably one of the most realistic wolf films, and that's Wolfen. I slightly miscast Albert Finney as a New York detective. Great support, Tom Noonan, Gregory Hines, Edward James Olmos is fantastic in it. Yeah, it's a really seen and undervalued shape-changing film, but it's really good, and it has socio-political things to say as well, which you don't always get in werewolf pictures. Again, this is another film from the past. Spine number 55 from 1969. It's The Valley of the Gwangi, or Gwangi, I think it's actually pronounced in the film. James Franciscus, oh I remember James Franciscus, what a legend. He's in The Killer Fish as well. Again, it's just, again, if you're a certain age, you know, films like the original Sinbads and Valley of the Gwangi, you know, the stop motion, the dinosaurs and cowboys, come on, for an 8-year-old, 11-year-old, 17-year-old. Again, it's just another film that was always on at like 6 o'clock in BBC Two. Again, I've probably seen this way too many times. This is A Return to the Valley, recounts the making of, with Ray Harryhausen. It's just a lovely little gem. Spine number 6 from 1976. Completely forgot there was nudity in it. It's Logan's Run. Yes, it's flawed, but the wonderful idea that at 30 you're killed, takes you back. Michael York, Jenny Agutter, and another seminal Jenny Agutter role. This is a commentary by Michael York, director Michael Anderson, and costume designer Bill Thomas, and is a vintage featurette, a look into the 23rd century. So who knows, it could still come true. Logan's Run, again, a film that was on the television a lot, but cut because it is now a 12 certificate. Spine number 3 from 1971, The Omega Man. One of 3 versions of Richard Matheson's novel. Probably the best. Obviously, very hairy Charlton Heston, Anthony Zerbe. It's a 70s film, so you can probably guess the ending. In those rare days when major stars didn't always believe in making films with happy endings. Spine number 1, the OG Daddy for the premium collection from 1954. Them, the best giant ant film. Directed by Gordon Douglas, who did one of the Sinbad films, I believe. Yeah, James Whitmore, James Arness. James Whitmore, of course, who would later be in The Shawshank Redemption. Yeah, it's just lots of fun. Great sound design. Spine number 103, 1993. I remember getting this out on VHS. I've got the soundtrack, which mixed metal bands with rap bands, or rap crews, as the kids call them. It's Judgment Night. This is tremendous, silly Friday night entertainment with Emilio Estevez, Cuba Gooding Jr. and Stephen Dorff. And Dennis Leary's breakthrough role. He really should have stopped after this. If you take The Ref, Judgment Night, and maybe Suicide Kings, that's the 3 films that Dennis Leary should have done, and he should have just stopped acting after that. But he's wonderful in this, as a bunch of suburban guys get lost on the way to a fight in a Winnebago in the wrong side of town. Jeremy Piven, before he was famous, directed by Stephen Hopkins, who of course did Predator 2. Complete nonsense. It's got a great soundtrack, hugely enjoyable stuff, even though complete pulp. Again, this is a favourites list, not the best. So from 1980, Spine number 7 is The Shining. It's funny, the older I get, the less I like The Shining. Now, when I say that, before I get into trouble, I still give it like 4 out of 5, so it's not as if it's a 1-star film or anything. But it used to be a 5 for me. It's one of those films that used to be a 5-star film for me, but it's now a 4. There's no shame in that. But obviously I'll get abuse. There's a commentary by studio cam inventor, that should be Steadicam inventor I think, and operator Garrett Brown and historian John Baxter, which is really interesting. Vivian Kubrick's documentary The Making of The Shining with optional commentary, and his 3 featurettes, Crafting The Shining, The Visions of Stanley Kubrick, and Shouting at Shelley Duvall. Yeah, wonderful film, but for me not quite as wonderful as it used to be. Spy number 73, 1979's Time After Time. Now, I just love this film. Malcolm McDowell as a good person. I know it's baffling. David Warner as Jack the Ripper. Malcolm McDowell as H.G. Wells, who time travel to 1979 San Francisco. Of course they do. Mary Steenburgen. It's an absolute treat. From 1963, Spy number 45. You can debate at home whether this is Robert Wise's finest work. The Haunting, the original, even though the remake with Catherine and Zeta-Jones is on premium collection as well, but obviously I don't have that for religious reasons, because it makes me scream, oh god, it's terrible. Yeah, this is all about sound design. The cinematography's gorgeous. I don't know whether you can get this in 4K, but the 4K would probably look even more gorgeous. Yeah. Russ Tamblyn. From 1986, this is definitely kind of Turkey Love territory. Spy number 133, The Golden Child, which Vinegar Syndrome is releasing a 4K of. I'm not that mad. I'm not going to get the Vinegar Syndrome 4K. But I've always had a soft spot for The Golden Child. I saw it in a cinema. Can you believe it? The Making of The Golden Child and the trailer. Charles Dance is just wonderful in it. And Eddie Murphy's wonderful in it. And Charlotte Lewis is wonderful in it. It's just a lot of fun. And I know people hate on it and stuff, but it's Turkey Love. That's all I can say. It's Turkey Love. Spy number 99 from 1951. This is definitely not a turkey. The Thing from Another World. Of course, I should have said it's not a turkey, it's a carrot. But I wasn't that quick. Howard Hawks' production of. Howard Hawks didn't direct it in any way, shape or form. Christopher Nyby did, of course. Yeah, this is just wonderful. Kenneth Tobey, Margaret Sheridan, James Arness, of course, as the carrot. I mean, The Thing. Seminal. Watch the Skies, indeed. Spy number 13 from 1981. Excalibur. I remember seeing this for the first time, just blew me away. It was almost like an assault on the senses. Wonderful double bill with Bresson's Lancelot de Lac. Don't know which one to watch first and then watch. Maybe Lancelot de Lac and then Excalibur, or vice versa. This has a commentary with Jordan Borman, which you have to listen to because Borman's commentaries are fantastic. He's in the top 10 of director commentaries. Again, I just love directors that aren't full of themselves. Well, so many we could mention. Spy number 105 from 1976. This is Robin and Marion, Richard Lester. Absolute masterpiece, stone cold. Sean Connery, Audrey Hepburn as the title characters. But with a twist, Audrey Hepburn plays Robin Hood. No, she doesn't. Robert Shaw just having a wonderful time as the Sheriff of Nottingham. Again, I've said as a teenager or a young adult, I saw this and just wasn't impressed that much. But having watched it again more recently, I've now seen it about 4 times in the last 5 years. This is just amazing. Again, another completely ridiculous Leicester cast. Nicole Williamson, Denham Elliott, Ronnie Barker, Ian Holm, Richard Harris, and more. I mean, Ronnie Barker as Friar Tuck. I mean, that's just perfect casting, isn't it? It's about aging. You could watch this in a double bill with Wild Strawberries, and then be really depressed. Spine number 4, 1973, Soylent Green. I'm not making this video on a Tuesday or a Wednesday. Again, Charlton Heston had Edward G. Robinson's last film, and what a send-off he gets. Again, these days are coming. Another one of those films that you go, oh, I really enjoyed that. Who directed that? Oh, it's Richard Fleischer. Quite a lot of Richard Fleischer films that you don't realise are Richard Fleischer films until you go, oh, it was directed by Richard Fleischer. Yeah, we're getting to Soylent Green days by the day. Number 94 from 1987, again, a VHS rental. Again, this is number 4, and this is not a best list, as I have said. This is The Hidden. I absolutely adore this. To me, this sums up the video rental age. This is a commentary by director Jack Shoulder and Tim Hunter, special effects footage in the original trailer. There was a sequel, which I've never actually seen. This is so much fun. Great soundtrack. It also stars Claudia Christian before she went into space. Yeah, Kyle MacLachlan's second best FBI agent of his career, but just so much fun. But again, don't expect it to be a great film, because it's not. It's just pure fun. This is a great film despite it being butchered. Spine number 80 from 1952, Nicholas Ray's On Dangerous Ground, with Ida Lupino and Robert Ryan. You can tell what a great film it is, considering this isn't the real proper version, because it was, as I said, it was butchered. It's only 82 minutes long, should have been 5 hours long. Robert Ryan as the quintessential Dirty Harry before Dirty Harry. He's so violent, he gets kicked upstate to solve a murder, and he comes across Ida Lupino, who is a blind relative of a suspect. It's just wonderful. And Robert Ryan, it might be his best performance. And again, as I said before, you can't get enough Ida Lupino, so underrated. Spine number 79 from 1947, Out of the Past, or as I grew up with it, Build My Gallows High, which I think is a much better title, even though Out of the Past does obviously speak to the fact there's flashbacks. Robert Mitchum, Jane Greer and Kirk Douglas. Yeah, this is directed by Jacques Tourneur. This is a quintessential fatalistic noir. I absolutely adore fatalism in films where characters know they're not gonna, it's not gonna end well, but they do things anyway. And Mitchum is his laconic, doomed best. It's a stone cold classic, but the number 1, it had to be number 1. And again, this is favourites. But Outland, again, was in DVD. Limbo, I got a German Blu-ray, I believe, and then this was released. You know, when it was ever on DVD, it was really dark. You couldn't really see what was going on, and the Blu-ray just, it showed where the money went. This is Peter Hyams, directed it. It does a commentary, which is really good. Who directed 2010. This is just wonderful. Yeah, it's High Noon in Space with Sean Connery as the sheriff that nobody wants to help. There is a wonderful theory on the internet that this takes place in the same universe as Alien, and it has that same kind of, you know, mining planet, drudgery, the company is in charge. Great support by Frances Sternhagen, who might be one of the greatest wing women in cinema history. James B. Seeking's wonderful in it. Music by Jerry Goldsmith. Stephen Berkoff has a nice little cameo. Yeah, now you can see where the money went, because you can actually see the sets. This is just wonderful. One of Sean Connery's best performances. yeah, I love Outland so much. It's just so good. So thanks very much for watching. This is Solitary Ronin from Solitary Ronin Films saying farewell and thanks. Thanks for watching the video. Hopefully you'll join me again for more 40 favourites, certainly attempting to rank. And again, let me know what some of your favourite premium collection releases are now that there will be no more. So thanks very much for watching. This is Solitary Ronin from Solitary Ronin Films, again saying farewell. Get on with it. I'm saying farewell again now. Bye.